Hi everyone, I'm Wendy, and today I'm testing out a mung bean vegan egg replacement. You may be familiar with Just Egg, a vegan egg product, and the main ingredient is mung beans. There are many copycat versions out there, so I decided to try my hand at making a homemade version to see if it was worth all the hype. So let me show you what I came up with and my verdict on the final result. As I mentioned, mung beans are the star ingredient, but you'll want to look for split mung dal. If you're not able to find mung dal in your regular grocery store, you can check natural food stores, Asian markets, or you can order them online. Once you have your mung beans, this recipe will require a little bit of forethought and prep ahead of time because we need to soak the beans. Start by rinsing the mung beans, then add them to a bowl with water. I used 1 cup of the beans, and you'll want to add enough water so there's an extra couple of inches above them to make sure they stay submerged as they soak up the water and expand. These should soak for a minimum of 4 hours, but I prefer to soak them overnight. And if you are soaking them more than 8 hours, or if you live in a hot and humid climate, it's best to keep them in the refrigerator while soaking to prevent any bacteria from growing. After they've soaked overnight, you can see they've absorbed quite a lot of water. When you're ready to prepare your vegan eggs, you'll drain the soaking water and rinse the mung beans again. Then add them to a high-powered blender with a few more ingredients. I've got 1 cup of plant milk. I'm using almond today, but feel free to use whatever plant milk you like. I'm also adding 1/4 cup of water and a few spices. This is turmeric and granulated onion and garlic. The turmeric will help to enhance that yellow eggy color, and the garlic and onion are just to flavor it up. Feel free to add salt if you like, and you can also add black salt, also known as Kala Namak, which has an egg-like flavor. I'm not using this, but if you do use it, I recommend waiting to sprinkle it on just before serving. If you add it now, it can lose some of the flavor as it cooks. Finally, this is also optional, but I'm adding 1 teaspoon of baking powder. It will help to lighten up the batter and give it a little bit of lift, but it should still work even if you decide to omit this. The baking powder I currently have is very clumpy, so I like to sift it to get the lumps out. Now that all the ingredients are in the blender, I'll put the lid on and blend it until the mung beans are completely pulverized. Then you can use this right away to make a vegan omelet or vegan scrambled eggs. Or you could also transfer this to a jar and store it in the fridge. It will get a little funky after a day or two, so I recommend using it as soon as possible. So first, I'm going to test out making an omelet. You can get whatever omelet fillings you like ready to go. I sauteed some onions, peppers, and a little bit of spinach, and I'll set that aside until I'm ready for it. For the omelet, I'm preheating a nonstick skillet on medium-high heat. Once the pan is hot, I'll pour out a thin layer of the mung bean mixture and gently tilt the pan to smooth it out. Then it's generally recommended to cover it while it's cooking for a couple of minutes. For the first one I made, I forgot to cover it and it still turned out just fine. And exactly how long it takes to cook will depend on how thick or thin you make your omelet. But once the edges start to dry out and there's just a little bit of moisture left in the center, you can use a rubber spatula to loosen the omelet around the edges and then carefully flip it and cook another minute or so. Once it's flipped, you can add your fillings. I've got some of my homemade vegan cheesy sauce. You can check out a video here for the demonstration on how to make this, or I'll link the written recipe below. After I add a little bit of that, I'm topping it with my sauteed veggies, and then I'll put a little more sauce on top of that, before folding the omelet in half. At this point, it'll probably be done cooking, but if you want to get a little bit of golden color on it, you can cook each side of the folded omelet, and then it's ready to serve. So my assessment of the mung bean omelet is that it was pretty good, but not really like eggs. I've never tried Just Egg, so I can't say whether it compares to that, and it's been over 5 years since I've had a real egg, so I'm just going based on vague memories. I must say, it definitely has the right look, but the texture is a little tougher and not quite as light and fluffy as real eggs. And without the black salt, I don't think it tasted like real eggs, but I enjoyed it and I thought it tasted good in its own right. If you're feeding it to your omnivore friends though, I don't think you'd be fooling anyone. I would definitely make this vegan omelet again, but let's see what happened when I tried to make scrambled eggs. Again, you'll use a non-stick skillet and pour some of the mixture into the pan. Cook this just for about a minute or two and then start breaking it up. At first, it really did fold over and look like it was going to work the same as how you scramble an egg, but it quickly started clumping up and sticking together. I tried using my spatula to break it up, cutting it into scrambled pieces, but I felt like the more I tried to break it up, the more it just stuck together. So then I decided maybe I just needed a firmer spatula, and I tried that. I got pretty frustrated and was about to call this a fail, but eventually I did get it scrambled and fully cooked. You can serve this however you like your scrambled eggs. You can keep it plain, you could add some of that cheesy sauce, and you could add veggies like we did with the omelet. As I mentioned before, you could also sprinkle a little bit of black salt to get that egg flavor. So what's the final verdict? I'd say this does sort of have the same look as scrambled eggs, but once again, the texture was a little more firm and the flavor was very starchy, since it is beans after all. And like I said during the cooking process, I was about to call this a fail, but it actually tastes pretty good. So I will probably default to tofu whenever I want to scramble because that's a little bit easier. But I will definitely make this mung bean scramble again because I did enjoy the flavor and texture, even if it wasn't quite like eggs. My mom also tried this and absolutely loved it. So in the end, I'd say this was a successful experiment. Let me know in the comments if you've ever tried just egg or a homemade version and what you thought of it. What's your favorite way to serve it? As always, thanks for watching, liking, and subscribing, and I hope to see you next time.